Our next guest, you've seen her on Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV, runs an amazing business that's truly everything social. So also business, social, you're getting the subliminal hint that I'm throwing down today, that I definitely want to have the top tier folks on this Monday. As you go in, hey, you're going to be working from home for a while. You might as well figure it out. Streaming's the way to go. So I figured to end the show, I bring on our expert. You've, like I said, seen her on Newsmax. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is Jordan Gelber. Welcome her to the show.
Hello.
Jordan, how are you?
I'm good. I've been taking notes the whole time. I love what everyone's been saying. So this has been a mind-blowing day. I love hearing all that stuff. So it's been good.
I was surprised. I mean, George, 2 Marines in a row. I mean, you're lucky they weren't eating crayons while we were all talking. And we didn't have the hug fest that so many people expect when Marines come into a room. You know how we're like CrossFitters and vegans? We're the first ones to tell you who we are. But that just proves, we have amazing veteran entrepreneurs, and not to pitch a segment on my show on the middle of a guest, but we do have Thursdays, we do have Veterans and First Responder Day here at our show. So that's where we take care of those folks. That's weird. Why are people calling when I'm on a show? There you go. Technology, baby. Hey,
I love it. Gotta love it.
But let's jump in and talk about you. Your story's amazing. You were sitting at an agency, right?
Yeah, I basically, I started my business in 2013. I have a company called Star Baby Enterprises. We're a marketing and production firm. I started it in 2013. I was working at a company where we built independent fashion shows for the public, and I was just really not motivated by it. There were so many great points that some of your previous guests made about building relationships with people and that being the longevity of your company. And this brand that I worked with, she just wasn't doing that. And so I learned so much, and I was like, I can do this and I can do it better. And I really believe in the value of working with people and helping people's dreams come true. And I just said, I'm going to do it. And I started my own business. And now 7 years later, we're doing some crazy, awesome stuff. So, we're doing the marketing and the production angle. So it's been exciting.
So that's a great topic. Let's talk about streaming. I know some people think that the only way that they can get anywhere is to jump on some gigantic network, right? I have people all the time call me up. Hey, Eric, how do I pitch my show to gigantic network? And I'm like, you need to start smaller. I don't want to go there. Nobody watches. And I've seen some incredible folks on Roku, on Amazon, Apple TV. They're killing it, and they have standalone apps, and you can click on them and watch, and it's their own channel. It's like their own version of Netflix, which I just read is up record-breaking numbers right now, because besides Tiger King and The Office, I think we've watched The Office again. I think we'd already watched 100 times from beginning to end. And and if anybody wants to argue this point, welcome it on Twitter, that when they put Andy or Ed Helms in the show and made him the boss, that's when the show went downhill. He's not Michael Scott. But I digress from that point. But tell people about streaming. It's legit, and it's the future. Throw some numbers out there. Whoa, where'd you go?
It's all good. It's all good.
All right, there you go. Now you're good.
Background than I do right now. I love yours. So, streaming is where it's at right now. I think a lot of people assume that the big, juggernauts, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Studios are like the way to go. Disney Plus. I think I've relived my childhood on Disney Plus since the start of this quarantine. Streaming is really the way of the future. Like so many people previously said today, if you weren't prepared to have some sort of remote business or virtual storefront, for a lot of people in the media space, because the entertainment industry has just gotten slammed by this and they're going to run out of content soon. A lot of people think that, Quibi, who I am still feeling it out right now, but there are all these great networks that are coming out where they're independent. You could get distribution tomorrow. You can have distribution on Roku and Apple TV and Fire TV and iOS and Android, and kind of create your own ecosystem of your own channels and networks and content. And people think that, you can only hang out with the big dogs. That's how you stay relevant. But the fact is, if you have your own network and you're saying, hey guys, I have my own network, come check it out. It's on these amazing platforms that a lot of people have. Most people have a smart TV device in their home or their phone. You can be the next big Netflix, and you could start that in quarantine. I mean, we've seen a huge influx. So many different brands have been coming to us about building their own channel or building their own network. You know, especially a lot of publishing houses, a lot of different magazines, a lot of different smaller networks that can't film right now because you can't go in a studio. It is really the way of the future. And if you're not making content, I really don't know what to tell you. If you're not making video content, you're not doing anything. It's really, I think that one of the best points I heard today from one of your previous guests, I think the first guest, he said that video content is like the best form of social media right now. So imagine taking that and putting it on an even bigger stage beyond just social media, what you could do with that.
I love that point, because all three out of the, three out of the four of you have said this. So I was counting in my head, scary. But 3 out of the 4 of you have said that. So content is king. You know, we've heard that, right? Gary Vaynerchuk is famous to say you have to have 70 some odd pieces of content a day. Okay, I'd never get to that point. Love Gary to death, but sorry, Gary, that's just not going to happen. I don't have the team you have, brah. But when it comes to video, you're right. What are your tips for, what are you telling folks who are getting started and getting in front of the camera? Obviously, we had 2 gentlemen who were talking about it, but there's a lot of women out there, and I know they're the ones. I know my wife falls into this category of, she's really good on camera now, but it took her just jumping headlong into it and embracing it. What's your tips for folks? And let's give it from a female perspective. We had Joel and George knocked it out of the ballpark, being like, just hop on, put a hat on. I mean, kind of look at both of them, right? You know, both, one's in a pink hoodie and a hat on backwards. I mean, you can just show up, and these are how people are showing up to interviews. You know, what's your tips for just getting comfortable in front of the camera?
I think just getting comfortable from the camera, the first thing I would tell anybody, and I say this to whether you're an actor or you're a host or you're, you know, starting a YouTube channel and you want to be an influencer, let's say, be authentic. I think that's the biggest thing. So many people try to fall into this trap of trying to become something that they're not. And they're so worried about the idea that they're trying to convey that they lose their message. So to be as authentic as possible, I think, would be my biggest tip. And we've seen a huge influx in YouTube right now. To me, I have like a love-hate relationship with YouTube. I love what YouTube has become and what it's done for video distribution and, you know, video content. But for like a lot of scripted narratives, because we work with a lot of scripted shows, I don't necessarily see that the right platform, but we've seen a huge influx in like how-to department, influencers, lifestyle, and a lot of like personal brands, because we work with a lot of individuals like entrepreneurs and chefs and stuff like that, and they're all trying to build their YouTube channel. And we were just talking about this with our in-house YouTube coach the other day, that, you know, when you're building a piece of content, my rule, I have a rule of 3 that I always follow. Every piece should be inspirational, informational, and educational. So, you know, for all those ladies out there, there's a lot of, in the makeup community, to me, has been the best kind of forerunner of this, is they put a look that inspires them. So they create like a makeup look that inspires them. Then they show the tools that they use to make that look. And they go a step further by telling you how exactly to use those tools. And if you don't have those tools, what else you could use. So kind of, you know, connecting directly to your relatable audience. You want to inspire people. You want to show people how to do things, because there's a trust factor with that. So if you are trying to start your own YouTube channel or Facebook channel, because Facebook is great, the video conversion and the algorithm is huge. I believe it's like 7 times more engagement than a static photo or even just text. The best thing to do is stay authentic and, in my mind, make something inspirational, informational, educational. And then you could just start pumping stuff out. And the more comfortable you get, you'll kind of get to listen to your audience. That's another thing I think people forget to do, is listen to their audience. Because sometimes, you know, and I think the guy before me, what he was saying about with those Facebook groups, they're about building an audience and listening to hearing what they're looking for, what they want. They'll tell you what to create next. They'll tell you what kind of content they really are missing, because you might be satiating a need that you didn't even know existed before. So just, you know, do something like that.
I love that. That is very true. I think one of the big points that I want to drive home from all of our guests today is this doesn't happen overnight.
Yes.
You're not going to get millions of people watching whatever you're doing. I mean, I see that there's an eyeball that tells me how many people are watching on Facebook. It doesn't tell me how many people are watching on YouTube. And nor do I care, because I care about the content that I know I'm feeding the beast every day, 4 segments on live, you know, social media that I can go put out again and just keep it going and just feed the monster all the way around. And I think people need to realize that. Everybody wants it to be, I turned it on and 1,000 people didn't watch me. It's like, no, this isn't a network news. You're not going to get those views, but people will. You have to build your audience. Definitely. It takes time. You get the good guests on, you have good content, people will go back and watch. I mean, YouTube channels you watch that have old content on it that you're watching still.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, people think overnight successes are literally overnight successes. It takes 10 years for overnight success. I mean, you mentioned Logan Paul. I mean, they started when YouTube started, and it took 10 years for a lot of these people to even be a name. I mean, VidCon a couple years ago was just overrun with influencers, and before it was like a media buying convention. So, it takes 10 years for something to really stick on to stuff. And also another point I should mention is be specific. We had a whole dialogue about this the other day in our team meeting about the fact that the best thing you can do is be specific of what your brand is, your message, and translate it differently on each platform. So, we've seen a huge influx in TikTok. So who your TikTok audience is, understand what the audience is on that platform, who YouTube, what the demographic is on YouTube, what kind of person people want you to be, or what kind of person you want to be on YouTube. Same with Facebook, same with Twitter. Your voice will modify for each platform, but just be specific into what you're trying to present, because so many people can be all over the place and then you don't know what they're trying to do. And that's when it kind of gets lost, and that's when things don't catch on. But if there's a specific point people can relate to, that's how you definitely will build an audience.
I love that. You bring up one of my favorite new platforms that I started playing with. When I said 8 weeks ago I would never do it, now I find myself sucked into the rabbit hole that is TikTok. Oh, it's so entertaining. I don't know why, but I've done some, and my teenagers are like, Dad, stop. And I'm like, no, it's incredible. So my wife and I are going to do the weekend dance, the one that everybody's doing.
Oh, yeah.
We've been practicing. Oh yeah, it's coming this week. It's coming. I am not a coordinated Irish kid, but you're going to see an uncoordinated Irish kid doing that dance.
Yeah, no, TikTok, I decided was going to be my quarantine hobby. You have to do something that keeps you entertained. And all I want to do during this whole time is feed my mind. So it's about, a TikTok is a great hobby. It's a new platform. So why not learn it? And there are so many how-tos on how to do it. So no excuses to not learn a new skill.
No, and you should do it. And people are like, oh, you're too old to do it. And I'm like, no, some of the best ones are older folks on there. Yeah. I mean, I'm like, guys, The Rock isn't young. I hate to break it to you.
What? What do you mean?
I just want to break it. Well, people say that all the time. I mean, they say that. I listen to EDM, and trust me, I hear people all the time are like, that's young people's music. I'm like, you should probably know that Deadmau5 is in his mid-40s. Exactly. You probably don't want to know Tiesto's 50. It's really going to disappoint you when you start realizing the guys who are at EDC are in their 40s and 50s and have 20-year-old kids. So that's why their music's so good. But anyways, Jordan, it's been great having you on. Again, like I do with all my guests, tell everybody how they could get a hold of you, find out more information about what you're doing out there.
Well, and thank you again for having me on. So Starbaby Enterprises, you can find us on Starbaby. It's STARBABY Enterprises. It's on Instagram. We have it on Facebook. Also, we have our Starbaby Network, because we have our own network. So it's Starbaby Network. You can find that on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, check us out. That's the best place to find us.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you again for coming on. Hope you have a great week, and I'm sure I'll be chatting with you really soon.
Really soon.
Really soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.